I guess it's working.
Yeah, we can still hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, now it's backed.
Good.
But I was just about out of juice, so it was.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Let me ask a couple of questions in kind of a different direction. What did you sense that the mission was when you were sent into Vietnam? What was the greater mission?
It was absolute lunacy. It was absolute, incredibly stupid, ridiculous. It was the big boys from Washington playing games. If you go back to Kennedy, it started it actually started with Eisenhower, where there was some talk about that, and then Kennedy, he did not want to send any troops in. He didn't want to have anything to do with it, but it was sort of a forced thing, which again, your history probably will or does get into. There was no sense in it. Everybody knew right from the beginning. The thought was, of course, that we can't let that little part of the world become communist.
Right.
Because they're the bad guys and they will take over the world. Well, it's communist and they're not taking over the world, are they?
Right.
And the thousands of people on our side that were killed, it was for absolutely nothing. Here's something you can put down on your paper, and I'll say this, very openly. We were told when we all got over there, this was not a war, it was a police mission. And what that police mission meant, they actually told us, do not shoot unless you are fired upon first.
Wow.
If you see the enemy, don't shoot, because this is not a war.
Right.
It's a police action.
Wow.
That's how foolish this whole thing was.
Police action, you're dropping paratroopers into, really.
What's that?
A police action, but you're dropping paratroopers in, and
Yeah, but don't shoot unless you're shot at first. Well, you're not going to do that.
Right.
Like,
right.
Oh, you missed me, now I can shoot.
Right, it's not human nature.
We're out to survive.
Right.
It was foolishness, and, it's been realized in all these, years since that it was the most ridiculous thing that the country has ever gotten into. And then it was the presidents, the secretaries of state and everything, they were trying to save face for themselves. The whole thing had to do with being reelected. The whole thing had to do with politics. We had an ongoing rumor, and I'll never know if it's true or not, but it probably is, that a lot of our congressmen at the time they secretly had stock in certain companies that were producing war products.
Yeah.
So they were making money on the side. The producers of the M16 rifle, as an example, the M16, which we all used, was a terrible weapon because it would constantly jam. You'd get a little bit of dust in it and it would jam and it would not fire.
Wow.
We were up against the Russian-built AK-47, which you could roll around in the mud with that thing and it would still shoot. M16 was a terrible gun, but nobody said stop using it, and why? Why?
Right, probably.
So it's pretty obvious that people who were making money off of it. So that's part of the lunacy of the war.
Right.
I can say nothing but, I would almost say that when I got back, other than the fact that, that's the story of its own, coming back, into the United States. We were spit on and, hissed and booed and, just everything in the world. The first thing we all wanted to do was get rid of our uniforms so people wouldn't see us, because it wouldn't work, though, because our hair was short.
But it wasn't your war, it was the politicians' war. You were sent.
Well, yeah. And I was almost starting to tell kids, go to Canada, run. Don't go over there. It's ridiculous. I never did do that, but I was close.
Wow.
Because, I mean, it was that incredible stupidity.
Nonsense. And it was your lives, and that's...
Well, that didn't matter. I mean, we're expendable. And, hey, it helped keep the population of the United States down. So.
Oh, that matters to me. It matters to me. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
I'm here.
Yeah. I see. I mean, definitely, I don't have to ask you how it changed how you viewed war and foreign policy, because...
Right. Well, you can ask that, and I can answer that.
Yeah.
And if there would be a reason to defend, I would most certainly defend, and everybody I know would.
In a defensive
if
manner.
there were a reason.
Right.
But not because of something like that, you know.
Right. Going and looking for a fight, picking a situation. It seems like they went and looked for a fight. It seems like they just interjected you into something that you did not need to be a part of.
Oh, that's it. We never should have.
Yeah.
We never should have, because of all the, billions and gazillions of dollars wasted in all the lives. Yeah. Not only the troops that got killed, but how about all their families?
Right.
Right. You can triple the thousands that actually got killed. And,
Wow. When you got back and your brother was back, did you talk about it a lot? Did it help to talk about it?
Oh, you tend to remember the good things. We laughed about things.
Yeah.
Stories. We laugh about funny, and you can always make something funny out of everything. So
sure.
Ignore that as probably one of those. Fact. I don't have a phone up here, but it'll just ring through.
Yeah, you have a lot of life in between when you were there and now, and so I can't imagine that it's something that you dwell on every day. But I bet you do think about it every day. Oh,
I do think about it every day. Partially because I'm seeing somebody weekly. I go to the group meetings. I go to a counselor.
Right.
To help me with nightmares and PTSD and whatnot. I've got neighbors right next door. They're in their 40s, and I tried bringing things up to him once, and he just said, "Bob, you got to forget about that." He said, "Just forget about it."
No,
it was just that simple. You don't forget.
No.
So anyway.
Yeah, no.
That's fine that they don't understand. I hope nobody else has to go through it.
Right. Well, but then my brother was in the Gulf War, and he came back from the Gulf War in Iraq with PTSD, and so we are still going through this.
So it's the same thing. Yes, you're right. We are.
Were these sorts of services always available, or is it something that became available as far as support groups and ways to get help?
Nobody ever knew they were there, so I guess they were not available.
Wow.
Maybe until the Gulf War came up and people started realizing that, wow,
right.
We got all these Vietnam guys killing themselves, committing suicide, going nuts, this and that. And, so it takes a while for us to learn things.
Yeah, we're a little hard-headed, I think.
You could say that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about this. This was
absolutely
educational and touching, and I do appreciate your service, and I really thank you. No matter what we think about what particular conflict you were in.
We all had to go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we love you. And thanks for
doing this
for
sounds
me.
good.
Yeah. Hang on just a second.